Hello and welcome back to this course on Introduction to Solid-State Physics. In the last few classes, we have discussed about the Drude model to explain the properties of the metal, and we have seen that using the Drude model, we can get the electrical conductivity of the metals, and it is validated through the experimental results. The next important properties of the metals is the thermal conductivity, and since the free electrons are responsible for good electrical conductivity of the metals, so it can be argued that the thermal conductivity in metals is also due to the motion of the free electrons. So in today's class, let us try to understand or try to explain the thermal conductivity of metals using the classical free electron theory. These assumptions that we had seen in the Drude model remains the same. That means the electrons are repeatedly undergoing collisions and scattering with each other as well as with the ions. And we are not going to consider the detailed interaction between the electrons or the electrons and the ions. Rather, we are going to take into account an average resistive force, and we are going to introduce, in analogy with the kinetic theory of gases, one term called as the mean free time of collision or relaxation time, tau. And based on this, we are going to explain the thermal conductivity of the metals. And one more thing I would like to discuss here, since we are going to deal with thermal conductivity, let us be very clear that the motion of the free electrons, or rather the free motion or the random motion of the free electrons, is not going to depend on the temperature. Since we are going to have a condition where the temperature gradient will exist, so let us make it very clear that we are not going to have any kind of influence of the temperature on the random motion of the free electrons. So with these assumptions, let us try to understand the thermal conductivity in case of metals. And here we are going to ignore the lattice contribution to the thermal conductivity. So as per the Drude model, we are not going to take into picture or take into account the lattice interaction. So we are going to ignore the lattice contribution to the thermal conductivity. So with this introduction, let us discuss about the thermal conductivity of the metals. To do that, let us consider a metallic rod, and let us first confine ourselves only to one dimension. And this metallic rod is having a temperature gradient. That means this side of the rod is at higher temperature and this side is at lower temperature. So there exists a temperature from cold side, and we know that the thermal energy is going to flow in a direction opposite to the thermal gradient. Now let us define the thermal conductivity through the thermal current density. Already we know what is the current density while taking into consideration about the electrical conductivity. Similarly, we can define the thermal current density as the amount of the heat energy that is flowing per unit time per unit area, and it can be written in terms of the temperature gradient like this. So JQ is the thermal current density and it is proportional to the temperature gradient, and the constant of proportionality is called as the thermal conductivity. This negative sign is because the heat energy flows in a direction opposite to the direction of the thermal gradient. And now let us come back to our example. So here we are considering a metallic rod in one dimension, and this side is at high temperature and this side is a low temperature. Let us focus our attention to a position x inside this metallic rod, and let us see what happens. Assume that there are n number of electrons per unit volume at this position x. So all these electrons are the free electrons and n is the electron density. And x is any arbitrary position inside this one-dimensional metallic rod. So out of this n electrons, we know that all these electrons are undergoing repeated collision and with an relaxation time of tau. So how direction? So we can have only two possibilities, that is either positive x or negative x, right? So we can have the motion only along the positive x direction or the negative x direction. So we can, on an average, we can consider that half of these electrons would have come from the hot side to the cold side, and half of these electrons would have come from the cold side to the hot side, because the electrons, they move randomly and they do not realize the thermal gradient. And the distance at which they have suffered the last collision is given by x minus vth tau for the electron that is coming from hot side to the cold side, and it is x plus vth tau for the electron which has come from cold side to the hot side. So at the position x, we are having total n number of electrons per unit volume, and out of this n electrons, half of the electrons, that is n by 2 electrons per unit volume, have come from the left hand side, and other n by 2 electron have come from the right hand side. And the last collision they have suffered, the position is at x minus vth tau and x plus vth tau respectively, where vth is the thermal speed of the electron. And since tau is the relaxation time, so before that they might have suffered so many other collisions, but the last collision is just before time tau for both these set of electrons. So now with this problem, let us define a function called as the thermal energy function, which is a function of the temperature, and we know that the temperature is a function of the distance or the position, because the temperature is not uniform throughout the rod, so rather it is having a temperature gradient. So in this case, we are having the thermal energy function, which is a function of the temperature. Now we can find out the thermal current density at the point x. So let us first try to find out the thermal current density that is flowing from the hot region to the cold region. And we know that here we have to take care of the, you have to take into account the thermal energy function at the point x minus vth tau, because since it is coming to the cold region from the hot region, so you have to take the thermal energy function at this x minus vth tau. So the temperature is at x minus vth tau. So the formula for the current density can be written as J is equal to the number of electrons times the speed of the electron times the thermal energy function. So in general, J can be written as the number of electrons times the speed of the electrons and the thermal energy function. And here the number of electrons that is flowing from the hot region to the cold region is n by 2. So n is replaced with n by 2. Vth remains the same, and u is at what point we have to take the u function, since u is a function of temperature and temperature is again a function of the position. You have to take into account the position from where the electron has suffered the last collision, that is x minus vth tau. So in this diagram, we can see that we are talking about this red line at the left side. So now the electrons are flowing from the hot region to this cold region, and we are interested in finding out the current density, the thermal current density. So we are going to take into account the thermal energy function at this point, that is U Tx minus Vth tau. Similarly, for the current density from the cold to the hot region is the same, except we are taking into account the thermal energy function for the temperature at x plus Vth tau. So now the net current density that is flowing from the hot side, hot region to the cold region, because ultimately the thermal current has to flow from the hot region of the sample to the cold region. So we have to subtract this with this to find out the net flow of the thermal energy. So let us do that. So n by 2 Vth can be taken as common, and we have subtracted the hot to cold current density with the cold to hot current density. So now let us have a look at this term Vth tau, and we know that tau is the relaxation time, and it is roughly of the order of 10 to the power minus 14 second. You know it from our previous class. And Vth is what? It is the thermal speed, and roughly it is between 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 6. So in this case, let us take it to be 10 to the power 5 meter per second. So what will be Vth tau? So 10 to the power minus 14 into 10 to the power 5. So it will be roughly 10 to the power minus 9 meter. So roughly it is some few nanometers. So when we compare this with x may be in few centimeters or some millimeters. So when compare this nanometer with this x value, it is very, very small. So what we can do? We can have a expansion of this. We can expand this by Taylor series. So let us do that. So if you do that, then what we will get? So ut x minus Vth tau can be expanded. This is the first term, and this is the second term. In the higher order terms, we are going to neglect because they are going to be very, very small. Same is the case with this positive function. So here also up to 2 terms we are going to take into account. The higher order terms we are going to ignore. So now let us replace this expansion into this. So what will happen? This utx terms will get cancelled out. So both these terms will get cancelled out, right? And minus Vth tau del u by del x minus up this will come. So we will have one factor 2, and that factor 2 will get cancelled out with this 2. And Vth will multiply with this Vth, and we will have a term Vth square. So the net thermal current density can be written as minus n Vth square tau times del u by del x. Remember, this negative sign is very important. So now let us come back to the very definition of u. We know that u is a function of temperature, and temperature is what? Temperature is again a function of position. So we can write del u by del x as del u by del t times del t by del x. And this del t by del x, we know it is the temperature gradient. And del u by del t from the kinetic theory of gases and classical thermodynamics, we know that this can be written as the heat capacity of the system. And if I multiply it with the number of electrons, then I can get the total electronic heat capacity. So let us write it. So JQ can be written as minus VTH square tau, and this N del U by del T is written as the heat capacity, that is CVEL. EL is for the electronic heat capacity times the temperature gradient. So here CVEL N is equal to N into del U by del T, which is the electronic heat capacity. So now let us compare this equation with our earlier equation, where we had defined the thermal conductivity in terms of the thermal current density. So what is that? That is JQ is equal to minus KEL del T by del X. Always we are writing this term EL because we are ignoring the lattice contribution. We are only interested in the electronic thermal conductivity. So if I compare this equation with this equation, then I can get KEL to be equal to, so KEL will be equal to how much? It will be equal to VTH square tau into CVEL, because del T by del X minus of del T by del X is there in both the cases. So only term that is remaining is minus VTH square tau into CVEL. So now we can consider the random motion along the all the three directions. Until now we are considering only the one dimension. So for that, one extra factor, that is 1 by 3 will come. So the thermal conductivity can be written as 1 by 3 times VTH square tau into the electronic heat capacity. And again we know that this tau can be written as the mean free path divided by the thermal also. So 1 by 3 VTH lambda times CVEL. Lambda is the mean free path, that is the distance traveled by the electron between two successive collisions. Once again, we know from the kinetic theory of gases that the translational kinetic energy of the system is given by 3 by 2 kBT, and it is equal to half m VTH square. And from here we can also obtain an expression for the heat capacity, that is U is equal to 3 by 2 N kBT. Since there are n number of free electrons per unit volume, so the total internal energy or the thermal energy function is given as 3 by 2 N kBT. So this is for a single electron. So for n electrons it will be 3 by 2 N kBT. And the electronic heat capacity, if I differentiate it with respect to time, then it is 3 by 2 N kB. So now we are having one expression for the heat capacity, that is 3 by 2 N kB, and another relation which gives VTH square. So what is VTH square from this expression? V2H square can be written as 3 kBT divided by M. So this term, let us replace it here, and this term let us replace it here. So for CVEL we are writing 3 by 2 NkB, and for VTH square we are writing 3 kBT by M. Then we can get an expression for the heat capacity. Sorry, we can get an expression for the thermal conductivity, and that will be KEL is equal to 3 by 2 N kB square tau by M into T. So 3 by 2 N kB factor is there, and kB is coming in the VTH square term also. That's why it is kB square. So this is how the thermal conductivity is going to be different for different metals depending on the number of free electrons per unit volume and the collision time or the relaxation time. And this is how it varies with the temperature, which is again it is matching very well with the experimental results. So now we are having the expression for the thermal conductivity as well as the electrical conductivity. Now let us verify whether the famous Weidmann-French law is valid. So what is Weidmann-French law? The ratio between the thermal conductivity and electrical conductivity at a fixed temperature is a constant. It is a universal constant. So let us write it. So K divided by sigma T can be written as 3 by 2 KB by E whole square. So here this factor n is getting cancelled out and factor tau is also getting cancelled out. So what we are getting is a universal constant. Kb is Boltzmann constant and E is the electronic charge. So this is how the ratio between the heat thermal conductivity and the electronic conductivity at a particular temperature is constant, and its value is, if you put the values of the Boltzmann constant and the charge of the electron, it comes out to be 1.11 into 10 to the power minus 8 watt into ohm per Kelvin square. And this is again is going to be experimentally well verified. And if you check with the experiment, then we can see that the Drude model is off only by a factor of 2 with the experimental results. So using the Drude model, we are able to explain the electrical conductivity of the metals, the thermal conductivity of the metals, and together if you couple them, then Weidmann-French law is also more or less we are able to explain. In the next class, we will be discussing few more implications of the Drude model.